tid.
Ching chang ching nu til dig.
Omkring ham dannede sneen hvid.
Ching chang ching nu til dig.
So there's a lot of franchises when it comes to video games, and a lot of great franchises. We've been talking about Diablo. I think that's what I'm going to start off with. By the way, we've talked about. I think Diablo 2 hit like the peak of perfection, and then Diablo 3 is okay. But I think that every franchise has kind of a peak when it comes to like a video game or a specific character, where it's like this is the best character in the entire franchise, the best game, and everything else just kind of like pales in comparison. What do you think?
So I had a little game, since we were going to talk about the best of the franchise. First part of this game is not really like with the best of the franchise, but I just found it interesting whenever I was writing down. So I wrote down just a bunch of franchises that came to my head. I'm going to reel them off to you, and just kind of you can just rapid fire. What do you think is the best one? And
Okay.
we can go into any of them deep that you really feel passionate about. But
Sure.
the thing that I wanted to hit you with first is, what is the longest running video game franchise?
Oh, hold on. Longest running video game
It is not the
franchise.
plumber. I will just head that off right now. It is not Mario. Because I found this
Okay.
interesting.
I've got a one that I was gonna say that's kind of random, but I don't think it's like Monopoly or something. It's gonna be some crap like that, isn't it?
Nope.
What is it?
You have died of dysentery.
Oh, wait. When's the last Oregon Trail game that came out? I mean,
So the first Oregon Trail game, I don't have the last one, but the very
Okay.
first Oregon Trail game was in 1971, originally developed on a quote-unquote primitive HP computer.
that's interesting because there have been a lot of Oregon Trail games, so it's not something I
Yeah,
would have.
apparently I think I didn't write down how many. I think it was like 10 or 11 iterations of the game, but I just found that fascinating whenever I was looking up franchises, and that one was the longest running one. I would have thought it was Pac-Man, but I was
Pac-Man's
incorrect.
a good idea. Yeah, I would say Pac-Man's a good one too. I was thinking of something that's still kind of going, but at the same time, I think that with nostalgia being as big of a cash cow as it is, that there are people playing Oregon Trail like on browsers and getting t-shirts of it still. So it's good stuff. What else you got for me?
So we know my favorite franchise of all time.
Legend of Zelda.
Absolutely. Which
I'll say I'm one too because I got.
if I say Legend of Zelda, what's the best of the franchise?
Okay, so there's the eternal debate whether or not it's Ocarina of Time or Link to the Past.
Sure.
I would say, and I as a huge fan of both of those games, I think Breath of the Wild did an amazing job with it. But also, Link Between Worlds is one of my favorite Zelda games that didn't get enough love, I don't think.
No, it didn't. I also now put Breath of the Wild on the top. I had before then Link to the Past as my number one. Super Mario.
Okay. I think 3 is probably the best. Again, it kind of hit its peak. It does what it accomplished. Oh, sorry, what it sets out to do in that game. It accomplishes perfectly. It's one of, in my opinion, probably the most perfect games when it comes to that, where it expands the ideas you have with the power-ups, with jumping with worlds, the different level types. I think it's the best one. I think that Super Mario World is a big one too, but 3 is my favorite on that. How about you?
I picked World.
Okay.
While 3, I think you made a good point about the power-ups and so on. I think where World takes the cake for me is the level design. I think the fact that they developed levels where going backwards was a thing. Like when you think about the side-scrolling Mario, you don't go backwards in one or 3. We're not going to talk about 2, but in Super Mario World, they created this situation, except for the auto scrollers where you could fly backwards. The key system, like the fact that multiple exits. Anyways, Final Fantasy.
Hold on, real quick before you talk about Final Fantasy, I will say there's only one good thing about Mario 2, and that's the music. It has some fun music.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, other than that, sorry, Final Fantasy. Okay. Yeah, I think I think your favorite Final Fantasy is my favorite Final Fantasy is just 7.
7, yeah.
Yeah,
Kevin's
7,
not here.
7's
Kevin's
the
not here,
best
so
Final
I can
Fantasy
say that
game.
6 can suck it.
6 is good.
No,
Again,
it's
6 does
fantastic.
really great for the SNES, for what they accomplished in the SNES. It's great. Final Fantasy 7 is better than 6 in regards to story, in regards to design, in regards to overall idea with what is happening, and also a villain, probably one of the best tortured villains that I can think of in Sephiroth.
Yeah, while 6 is I get anybody who says 6 is the best. I think that 7 also has an effect on me that Ocarina of Time has an effect on a lot of other people. We're talking about the entrance into 3D Final Fantasy and the fact that they didn't blow it and created a world that I loved being in. The world of 7 and Midgar, and once you get out of Midgar, and like you mentioned, I get why Kefka is probably a bigger villain, but I love the fact that Sephiroth wasn't necessarily evil at the beginning, but then morphed into that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's what I liked about it. It's considerably superior to 6, as Kevin's messaging in the comments about. He says that 9 is the best Final Fantasy on PlayStation. I disagree, because I think 8's better than 9.
Me too.
And I'm not even that big of a fan of 8.
I'm in the minority.
Trashing.
I'm in the minority on that one.
Because you like 8, yeah, because you like the Gunblade, yeah.
I love everything about 8. Metroid, and this can include your primes.
Okay, so I am one who hardly played any Metroid games.
Okay,
so
that's fine.
I'm just gonna say Super Metroid.
That's fine.
I'd
say Metroid Prime.
One of my favorites. Metroid Prime, okay. Like I'd say that was my favorite of the ones that I played. It's a franchise that I was aware of when I was younger. I never played it. Like I never even went. Like I'd heard about it, but I never played it until like high school. And so when it was out, because I was, because of our ages, like we were young when not the first Metroid game came out, but the subsequent Metroid games and SNES Metroid games. But you talk about Prime is great too. I will say Prime is good. Yeah.
And with Super Metroid, I didn't get, same thing with like the Castlevania type thing. I didn't get that kind of game until as an adult. As a kid, I hated that style of game, like the backtracking and so on.
Yeah. I would say, well, is Castlevania on there on your list?
It is on my list.
All right.
We can go ahead and skip to that one.
I'm gonna say Symphony of the Night. I know that's like one of the popular ones. Rondo of Blood's really good too, but Symphony of the Night is really good. And honestly, the Xbox 360 Lords of Shadow, I really liked. I really liked it a lot.
I'm not going to give it to it. I'll say shout outs to the 64 one too. As lame as a lot of people think Castlevania, it was, as a kid, again, it was that 3D thing. It was just fun. But since I haven't spent a lot of time with Symphony of the Night, I'm actually going to say 3. I'm going to jump around here. Doom.
Okay. That's actually probably going to be the harder ones that I've done.
Really?
I'd say probably 2.
Okay.
I think 2 or the
2016.
the most recent, 2016 Doom, because they had the Doom 3 was pretty good, but I think the Doom 2016 was just blew it out of the water exactly what you wanted in modern.
The soundtrack was fantastic. I'm going to give it to Doom 2 too, just because. Short anecdote: there was somebody that managed to load that onto work computers whenever I worked at the movie theater as a kid, and it was across the server. And there were several nights where me and a manager would play that until like 5-6 in the morning, just at work, clocked off, playing Doom 2. So it's just one of those things that I'll never forget.
It was so good, and so it's a great example. To me, it's the same thing with I don't know if this is on there, by the way, Grand Theft Auto.
It is.
Okay, so this is not my favorite, but I feel Doom 2. I feel the same way as I do Doom to Doom 2 as Grand Theft Auto to Grand Theft Auto 2, because Grand Theft Auto 2 was just so much better than Grand Theft Auto, but it was doing kind of the same thing. Then it goes into a different scenario. Now we're talking about favorite Grand Theft Autos. 5 is great. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But Vice City.
Vice City, dude. I don't know how the answer can't be Vice City.
the music, The setting, it's perfect for the, because when you want mobster action, when you want that kind of, you think late 70s, mid early 80s. That's what you think of. And Vice City had the best. I would drive around Vice City just listening to the soundtrack. It was amazing. It was so good.
Metal Gear.
Oh man.
Somebody's gonna say something in the comment though. Somebody have a.
So well, we've got sorry, Kevin did comment saying Vice City as well, so it's unanimous. Okay, when it comes to Metal Gear, I have a soft place in my heart for Metal Gear Solid, but Snake Eater is really good as well. I'm gonna give it to Solid.
Me too.
But Snake Eater and Phantom Pain are really great games.
Just the fact of what they managed to do with, and I'm gonna call PlayStation, at the time it was like revolutionary, but it's a primitive console by today's standards. What they managed to do, just the amount of narrative that they were able to put into a new disc-based game like that. One, the polygons kind of don't hold up, just like Final Fantasy VII polygons don't, but the story there, and then the fight with like Psycho Mantis, and
I will admit
crazy
that I rage quitted. It was one of the first times I remember rage quitting a game with Psycho Mantis, because I didn't know the trick until like I'm probably months later. Someone told me at school, but it tripped me out when like I was playing that, and he was reading your information off of your memory card. Like it tripped me out the first time that happened, and he's like, I see you've been playing a lot of Crash Bandicoot, and I'm like, oh no,
this is the coolest thing ever. Like I've
really
never seen a game that breaks a fourth wall like that.
It did it so well in a time that you'd never expected something like that. If that happened now, that'd be very meta. To do something like that, but I don't think it would have. I think it was amazing for the time. Kevin mentioned in the comments, by the way, this is quasi franchise, Tim Schafer Adventure Games.
I got nothing.
You got nothing?
I'll just say Grim Fandango.
Grim Fandango's pretty freaking awesome.
I have it, and I've never gotten to it. I also have. Is it Broken Age?
Yeah.
I have that too, and I've never gotten to it.
Grim Fandango is great. The style for Grim Fandango and Full Throttle are astounding when it comes to their style, but they all have their quirkiness. Grim Fandango is probably my favorite, but Full Throttle, it's really hard for me to pick this, honestly. Grim Fandango is great. Full Throttle is great. Monkey Island as a series is really cool, but it's hard to pick a favorite in there. So
what's really interesting about that we brought up Grim Fandango and Tim Schafer, every time I go to the PlayStation Store website, Grim Fandango is listed as like the top digital game of all time, I think, or something crazy like that. In terms of like a digital only release on PlayStation, it's like number one.
That's interesting. I'm happy. I'm happy about that. I love that game. I played so I got the demo back when we had demos back in my day. Like you got demo discs that had like 5 or 6 games on it.
The best.
And I played Grim Fandango probably 30 or 40 times. Between that and I
played the Parappa the Rappa demo so many times.
Yes. Parappa the Rappa, like I didn't play the full game until I was in college, because I just I didn't have. And the other one, which I got to be really happy about when it came to PlayStation Classic, Intelligent Cube.
Yes,
that's
the only reason Classic. I want that thing. Honestly.
Yeah, I loved that. I played the demo of that, and I was like, this game is great, and I never could find it in the store.
Holds up.
And now it's not that well known, so it's pricey. So I'm very happy about that. Anyways, we got more stuff to talk about. Do you have other?
Oh yeah, no, I thought you were about to read off comments.
No, go ahead.
I have a bunch more franchises. I don't know how long we're gonna go, but one franchise that I did want to hit because it's a big one to me, and one that needs some comeback action, and that is Star Wars. Star Wars video games. What is the best Star Wars video game?
Okay. The Battlefront on the OG the PlayStation 2 Battlefront was fantastic. And this is
Battlefront
the one
1 or 2?
Battlefront 2.
Okay.
On there. I will say there's a lot of great ones. Like the Jedi Knight games are great.
Yeah.
The first Dark Forces and the second Dark Forces.
Dark Forces 2 is amazing.
Oh, it was one of it. It was just perfect because Dark Forces and Dark Forces 2 taking the idea that Doom did so well with the first-person shooter, but the level design in that game is just amazing. It's rich, and as a Star Wars nerd, like the design in the levels was just wonderful. But there's one that does not get anywhere near enough love, so I want to mention it here, which is the Phantom Menace on PC.
Really? Yes. I was not expecting that.
No one was expecting that. So you play. It's been forever since I played this, but I'm pretty sure you play the majority of the game, if not the whole game, as Obi-Wan. It's a third-person, behind-the-back action game where you got a lightsaber and you have force powers, and it's pretty darn good for the time. It's not as good as like Jedi Knight when it came to was it Jedi Knight 2 where it was, and Jedi Academy where you could really customize your character, and then of course
I want to say more Academy than Jedi Knight.
Yeah, Academy did more of that, and then of course you've got games like Knights of the Old Republic where the storytelling just took it to a completely different level, but also I like being able to play as either a Sith or a Jedi, good, light side, dark side. I really like that ability. But yeah, I think that Phantom Menace no one talks about because the movie was trash.
But whenever I was trying to figure out what was my absolute favorite best of the franchise, shout outs to KOTOR, of course. KOTOR is the one that I want a KOTOR 3. Out of all the different iterations of Star Wars that I'm about to mention, KOTOR is the one that I want now. As an adult, I want that in-depth play. Another shout out would be the Star Wars arcade game where the joystick, where you could play through the 3 different episodes, and you do Yavin, you do Hoth, you do Endor, and the Death Star runs.
Yep.
I want to say that was an early 90s arcade cabinet. I spent a lot of time at GameWorks on that cabinet.
I played that for the first time 2 weeks ago.
Really?
The first time. There's an arcade down.
Not the pixely one, the one that was full color, right?
Yeah, full color, like you were saying, the joystick. And I was enamored how it was this in between worlds of decent graphics. It wasn't the vector graphics. It was relatively decent graphics.
Yeah.
But still had the joystick feel of an old school arcade game. There's an arcade near me. There's actually a couple, but there's one that's almost majority pinball. Yeah. But they have some old school games like that.
It's my absolute favorite arcade game of all time. But it's got, and you mentioned Jedi Knight, which Dark Forces 2. My childhood was spent that I mentioned online games in one of our previous shows. That was the other game that got me into just online gaming in general, was Jedi Knight 2. But it's got to be Shadows of the Empire on the Nintendo 64.
Yep, Kevin just mentioned that as well. Shadows of the Empire is it was a great. It did. I think that it successfully did a 3D game in a time when 3D games could be really horrible.
Yeah.
I think did a great job with that. I really enjoyed that, but I also enjoyed it was almost like a behind the scenes of Star Wars. And this is back in the time where you didn't get Star Wars you didn't get Star Wars movies, so comic books, novels, and video games are the only way you're going to get something extra. And I almost felt like it was the behind the scenes of what was going on elsewhere in Hoth and with Shadows of the Empire being this amazing multimedia project.
It was the fact that it's during that time after what everybody hails and is probably universally agreed on as the greatest Star Wars movie. It's between Empire and Return of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. You are a Han Solo-like person, a person who is a friend of Han, another smuggler, another what's the word? Scoundrel. Another scoundrel. Yeah. That's your guy. But one of my favorite parts about it was based off of a novel. This was, like you mentioned, this was a time when we didn't have movies. A person wrote a novel as a part of the Star Wars universe, which got turned into a video game, and it was a video game that was done so great. I played that game so many times. Absolute favorite of the franchise, even though I want KOTOR 3 more than anything.
No, Shadows is amazing, and the toys off that were great too. Like I loved. I had an Outrider. It was fantastic. Kevin in the comments was mentioning. He said best Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, or Tekken. I'm gonna throw that as like best fighter, like best fighting game.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Okay, so you picked my pick. Okay,
Yeah.
so Marvel vs. Kevin says Tekken Tag. Now Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Tekken Tag was a lot of fun. Eddie Gordo, all day.
Yeah, but now Marvel vs. Capcom for overall world building, but also like it's just a perfect marriage. It's a
I'm gonna
perfect
take you
marriage
for a ride.
Yeah, they tried to do it with like the Mortal Kombat DC, which I was like, oh, I get what you're trying to do, but it doesn't work as well. It does not work as well as bringing Marvel and Capcom together was a perfect marriage of characters. Also, best Resident Evil game.
It's not my franchise. I'm just gonna say 2, just for the sake of saying 2.
2 is the best. 2 is the best. I will say that 7 is great. I love what 7 did. Kevin mentioned in the comments, I don't know if he was joking, but he said, is Resident Evil 4 is the best, right? Resident Evil 4 is the action.
Isn't that the worst? Or is that 5?
Okay.
There's one that people like hail as complete trash.
I hate 5.
Yeah.
But I hate 5 because they were trying to make an action game, but also make your resources scarce.
Yeah.
And it was like this weird thing that didn't make sense.
That was what I could never get into Resident Evil about, is again, it was like a game that I was playing as a kid, and like surviving off of 4 bullets whenever I'm not a good shot, and I don't like horror games, so that crap scared the stuffing out of me, where you just like come around a corner, all of a sudden there's a zombie, and then all of a sudden I have no bullets anymore because I didn't shoot him in the head.
No, yeah, I think as a kid that it made it frustrating to me, but it was the first game that I realized, and it was a game that was designed where you didn't have to kill all the enemies. It was the first game that made me have to worry about resources when I wasn't playing like a real-time strategy game. Because if you're playing like the old school first Warcraft game, you're thinking about that all the time. When you're playing a console game like a third-person action game, you don't usually think about resources, and yeah, it's frustrating, but I actually really liked that about it.
Yeah. It's just I think it was more the horror. I don't play horror games like Silent Hills, Resident Evil, like the games that I don't like jump scares very much. Like playing through Last of Us was really stressful for me, even though that's not a horror game, but it's a thing where you're in a terrifying world. Yeah,
well, it's unnerving. Yeah. And they're preying on that fear, instinct, because you should be scared like the character is scared.
Yeah.
I'd put it in that genre of storytelling. The gameplay is not really horror, but at the same time we could really dissect that. But I don't think we need to. What do we have? Others?
We covered Grand Theft Auto, Mass Effect.
Ooh. Okay.
It's 2, right?
It's 2.
Yeah.
It's 2. One, people will argue has a better story. 1 has a good story. It really does.
It plays like crap.
It plays like crap. 2 has a better story, and the best part is, if you want to play 2, you can start playing 2, and it kind of fills you in on, at the very beginning, it fills you in on if you didn't play 1. And then the only character that you really need to know about is Garrus. And like you have a moment, which someone put on Imgur the other day. It was a Mass Effect like meme where they were talking about, this is Shepard when he finds out that what's the character name? When you find out that the person who's shooting all the people is Garrus.
Yeah.
Like, so it took that, and it took Thor from Ragnarok in there, and he's like, it's my friend from work. Like, that was one of the coolest moments if you played Mass Effect 1. If you didn't, it was like, oh, that's cool, they know each other.
Wasn't it you that couldn't get that was really bummed that the person didn't take off their mask?
Yes.
Because they couldn't breathe oxygen?
Tali, okay, so I first of all, I really like her as a character. I really liked her character, and that was one of the reasons of why I wanted to romance her. But I really liked her character. I liked her her arc. I liked how I felt like it made sense from a romance standpoint. That made sense for me. for that character. I did romance. I played multiple playthroughs and romanced like
As you do.
most of the crew. Like, yeah, because that's what you do.
That's what you do in a BioWare game.
So who did you romance? Because that's who I romanced.
I went after the same. I went after the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
Just interest is
Miranda.
more interesting. Like,
Yeah.
it's just the fact that like you can't see that. Also, did you go femme shepherd or male shepherd?
Okay, I did male shepherd.
Oh yeah, I don't do that.
I did male shepherd by. I was kind of like doing it by default. Part of it was because, and it was specifically because I was seeing like other people's playthroughs, but also like for some reason the choice. Like, I didn't think that it would be that big of a difference between the two. Yeah. And it wasn't till after I played it, I think the second or third time, because I played through it, I think I've beaten it 5 times. But well, it wasn't until I played through it like the second or third time that someone mentioned FemShep, and I started watching people's videos on it, and I'm like, oh, FemShep's awesome. Like, great, better voice acting than regular Shepherd. And I didn't think that there'd be one who was considerably better, and I thought the game would be balanced enough that I would get it either way. But no, FemShep's the best.
If there's ever, that's a weird thing about me, or maybe it's not weird, maybe other people. If there's an opportunity to make a male or female character, I always pick female every single time.
Why is that?
I don't know. I think it's just because I'm already a dude, and so I like the idea of trying to play a girl as a girl, even though I'm a guy.
I think if you're playing a role-playing game, I think it makes you force yourself to be out of the box, to be different. Because I'll say, when I play Mass Effect and BioWare games, like by default, I go very Paragon. Like even without trying, because that's kind of me. Like, I'm the guy who like will stop, put my flashers on, and push someone's car. Like, that's stuff that I do. Yeah. Because I hope that someone else is out there doing something like that. Yeah. So I'm the same way when I play Mass Effect. So when I played Mass Effect, trying to play it as a Renegade, it was hard for me. Yeah. Like, to make some of those choices.
It's just like what you mentioned earlier about light side, dark side. I don't play Siths. I hate being a Sith. I don't like being a bad guy. Playing through Red Dead Redemption right now is really hard for me because I have not robbed one person that the game has not made me rob.
Yeah, I've heard some people that wished, and I'll admit I'm not that far in it, but
I'm only in chapter 3.
I will say that I wish that it was a little more nuanced so far from my playthrough. I haven't felt like they've been purposely like showing his character to try to be good, because they're trying to make the gang not seem bad, and I feel like maybe that got in the way storytelling wise, as opposed to saying as opposed to him being the only good person in a gang full of crappy people, because Dutch is an ass, and I feel like, because you know, when you're very first starting off the game and the first couple hours or whatever, they talk about Dutch. They're like, oh, well, such and such happened on the boat, which I haven't even gotten to exactly what happened, but they mention it, and you know, someone's like, well, it's not like Dutch to do something like that. I'm like, you're a bunch of, like, you're a gang. Yeah. Like, a shootout's a thing that happens. So I thought when I was playing this game, when I first got it, I thought what I was going to get was like the outlier who's trying to, kind of like John Marston. Yeah. But like another good guy. And instead I got another neutral-ish person.
I can't wait to have a conversation. This is going off thing because I really want to, even though there isn't a whole lot of depth to his character, I think there's a lot of depth to Arthur Morgan in his lack of depth, at least so far. But I'm only in chapter 3, so I think there's more to come. But so far, the lack of depth is actually depth. Anyways, in terms of other
tangent,
of other franchises, there were. I just want to name some fast ones. So just go with the first thing that comes to your head: Mega Man / Mega Man X.
Okay, Mega Man X.
Mega Man X. Hell yeah,
this is perfect. Yeah.
Donkey Kong.
So Donkey Kong Country.
Tropical Freeze. Me.
Okay. That's a good choice.
It's so good if you haven't played it. Fallout.
Oh, New Vegas. And it's funny because New Vegas is not made by Bethesda, it's Obsidian. Yeah. But it's so freaking good. It's the environment is so good. It's like Vice City.
Yeah. Halo.
I'd say Halo 3.
Absolutely.
ODST was horrible, but
3, absolutely.
3's great.
The-
2's good. ODST's horrible.
What they did with 3 online is fantastic.
It's great.
Sonic.
Okay, Sonic and Knuckles, only because of Knuckles. Sonic, honestly, I think Sonic 2 is a better game.
Okay.
But, yeah.
I'll honestly say the new one that was released, and I'm trying to think of the name on.
Yeah.
What is the
Sonic Mania?
Sonic Mania.
Yeah.
I think
It's great.
I think it's
great.
probably one of the
like
best combinations that they've ever done in terms of
Oh,
just
yeah.
mashing every level classic and new. Devil May Cry.
Okay, I was never big on the franchise,
That's
so I can't really throw in that. Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts. You ever play?
Yes,
There's
I
only-
did, but
There's
it's
only
between
there's
1
only
and
been
2 to me.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. That one.
There's been, like,
I threw that
what-
one in there as kind of a joke to see if you would actually say like Chain of Memories or something. But
Okay, there's like 16 mobile, like not mobile games, like there's all handheld games.
handhelds, yeah.
So whenever I'm a old school, I'm of the old guard of like PC gaming and console gaming.
Yeah.
Where handhelds to me, same thing with the Zelda games. I didn't play handheld Zelda games for like forever because I'm like, that's not a real Zelda game. The real Zelda game is over here.
Only 3 of them are good.
Yeah, see, and this is what happens.
The ones
mobile
on
gaming
DS
is even
suck.
worse than that. Yeah, see, mobile gaming is even worse than this. But I would say Kingdom Hearts 1. I think Kingdom Hearts 2 is good, but I think Kingdom Hearts did a really great job because I don't think they expected to have this as a
No,
franchise.
I think it's story versus gameplay. Gameplay 2 better, story is 1
Yeah.
better. But and I'll leave anything. Wolfenstein. Did you play the old ones?
Oh yeah, I did.
Did you play 3D?
I played 3D.
Hell yeah.
Wolfenstein 3D, Spear of Destiny, which not as many people played.
Yeah.
Spear of Destiny was
That's
even
fantastic.
to me. It was wonderful. The new Wolfenstein are great.
Yeah.
They're amazing. But I loved the Wolfenstein from, what was it, 2009?
Really?
2010.
Really?
I really liked it. Nobody
Okay.
else did. It wasn't, to me, I liked it because it was different.
Yeah.
And I feel like the new Wolfenstein is the same thing that they did with Doom, which is perfect. It's let's take this and make it for the modern audience, which I don't think when they did the Wolfenstein, when they were planning it and all of that, the Wolfenstein from whatever 2010 or whatever it was, I don't think that it was meta enough. Like now, having Hitler in Wolfenstein, like directing a movie and that kind of thing, like they were like they knew they could go over the top and it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
And I think that they were playing a little too close to the chest with the other one, but I really liked it. I was one of the only people who did.
I think that New Order took what that one did, and I think just made it a great system. And I think New Order did what Doom 2016 did for Doom, and just brought this franchise completely back to life and said, "Hey, you still want to punch and kill some Nazis, don't you?"
That's exactly right.
Absolutely,
That's exactly right.
I do.
What about God of War?
I mean, the new one.
The new one?
Absolutely. It's not even close for me. Like, it's not that I didn't like Kratos as a big god-killing machine back then, but making him get old and have to be a little less gruff and not a complete dick. Like, he was not likable in God of War 1 through 3. And it's hard for you to get behind it. Like, the hack and slash and the combat and everything was absolutely fun, but Kratos, you're just like, I don't like you. Like, I hope Ares kicks your butt.
That's true. Like, well, I will say, like, I loved, and Whitney's actually played every single God of War game. I was gonna say Diablo because I think the first God of War games, that's really what they were doing. It's all about the action, it's all about the gameplay, and the fact that they could have these giant titans, literally, in the game. These creatures that you and enemies that weren't just around your size. That was really cool because like if you play the first Diablo game, like Diablo is like maybe double your size, but it's not very so I really enjoyed that. I think 2 and 3 are amazing, but I will agree with you. I will concede that the new game is better from a storytelling standpoint. Graphics, obviously, there's no competition.
Oh yeah, that wouldn't be fair.
Storytelling and pacing and mystery involved in that game, and like drawing out that story where it could have just been another God of War where he just beats up more gods, but there was so much story in that game. It just was great. I loved it.
And then the last one that I had was Uncharted.
Okay, Uncharted 2. specifically for the opening sequence.
Okay.
What'd you say? What are you gonna say? 1?
I was gonna say 3.
3's good. 3's good.
It's...
There's not a bad Uncharted game.
I hate the end of Uncharted 2. That fight in that stupid little tree area. I mean, you know me, I'm a rager when it comes to video games, and just that guy just straight whopped me like 20 times before I just ran away from him the entire time. So what eventually happened is I was just running in a circle, occasionally firing off a shot until eventually he died. Every amount of enjoyment that I got out of 2 died at the end of that game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, yeah, but I never played the Uncharted games for like the gameplay, honestly. The gameplay is a means to an end to do an amazing
that's all
action.
Naughty Dog these days.
Yeah, well, I think that Nathan Drake is Indiana Jones, where you have a person who is there for a reason he's not there to kill people. He's not even there to be climbing and doing all the stuff that he's doing. He's thrown in these situations. You have to watch him persevere. He's like grunting, barely able to do a pull-up. And I think that's endearing about his character. If you don't have any more, I have one more.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed.
It's really hard because there's like this old versus new thing going on. Because Assassin's Creed has officially evolved, and what it's evolved into is really cool.
Yeah.
But what happened to the story? They just have kind of just said no to that, and that really annoys me. So from like a gameplay standpoint, like Origins is really, really good. I would probably, because 4 was also really fun.
4 is great.
Tough. 2
is great. I think 2 is wonderful. 1 was my favorite for the longest time because 1 and 2, because of the story, because of the Abstergo story, which was amazing in the first 4 games. It was an amazing part of the story that they don't dive into anymore, where you have what's going on in modern day and the quasi conspiracy theory stuff, and then if you unlock the memories in was it 3, where you can unlock all the memories of the pieces of Eden, and find out like how mankind started and all that.
Man, 3 was so disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of,
I'm a big war guy, and the fact that they've hit the Revolutionary War, I was really pumped for that, and then it wasn't that fun during that point. I'm
thinking of 2 with the Pieces of Eden. Let me know in the comments which one had the Pieces of Eden. But I loved the first one for the setting. I thought it was great. But Black Flag, I think that they hit it out the park with Black Flag, and then the next games were not as good because they were trying to be way too different, and I feel like that's why they went back in Origins to giving you a boat again. And I don't think that's think that was Greece is great, and Egypt was great. Trust me, Egypt was Origins was good.
What they managed to do on the outside of that game too, with the tour mode and like the Egyptologist and like that part is just cool. I know that really doesn't have much to do with the game itself, but the fact that they added that in there at, I think, 0 cost, right?
Yeah, it's a 0 cost. The one in Greece is what I'm thinking of. Sorry.
This is a new one.
Odyssey.
Yeah.
Odyssey, which I really like. I've liked a lot of that game, but I think that's one of the best parts of the game is the fact that they brought back ship combat. The ship combat was great. Anyways,
which, by the way, for my pitching, I want a Assassin's Creed Roaring 20s.
Roaring 20s, that could be interesting.
Like Prohibition stuff, like I've always thought that would be cool.
Like the Templars are like mafioso or something.
Yeah, some Al Capone action in there. It would be cool. Anyways, that was all the franchises that I just randomly wrote down.
So let us know in the comments what some of your favorite franchises are, and do you think that certain franchises peaked, don't need to continue? And let us know if you think any of our choices were wrong. You're wrong in saying that, but you're free to comment on it and everything.
Yeah.
We're not gonna ban you like Blizzard. Have fun.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for watching This Week in Our Collective Heads. Subscribe over here and click the bell, and that way you'll know about any new videos that we put up, because we put up a lot of a lot of gameplay, a lot of stories from games and stuff like that. And gameplay is down here.
Yeah, and you got more editorials and news stuff down here. Check it out.